Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning. My name is Felicia, and I'm a returning real estate student. This will be my first real estate course with Professor Regina Brown. She's an excellent teacher. She gets into depth about things, and that's what I like about the way she teaches. This course is about California real estate and real estate law. It's the 9th edition. This book was written by Herbert and Tyler. I will begin with chapter 1. In chapter 1 is an introduction into the how laws were placed into the real estate industry and why. Laws were established by the English settlers. Laws were inherited directly from the English people. But the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo provided that the U.S. would respect all private property rights established by the Mexican government. A board of commissioners was appointed in 1851 to review the Mexican land grant. So Spanish people who had acquired land from the Mexican government were required to present a claim to the U.S. commissioners for settlement. Now, if these claims were granted, then the U.S. government would issue a patent for the land to the people who were claiming it. But if they were not proven, then the land became public land, and the U.S. government would take possession of it and sell it to private entities, whoever wanted to purchase it. Now, the sources of law come from the Constitution, the legislators, courts, and administrators. Substantive law gives the rights and duties, while procedural law is the method of enforcing the substantial rights. Now, you have different levels of courts. You have a civil court, and then you have appellate courts, and then you have Supreme Courts. The beginning stage, where you have a civil case where somebody has wronged you or destroyed your property, you take and you file a claim against that person for a lawsuit to be reimbursed what you believe the damages were done to you. If it's founded, then you are granted a monetary compensation by the courts. If at that time that person that lost the case feels that they were unjustly done, they have a right to ask for an appeal. This will go to a higher court, but in the same jurisdiction as the civil court, and they will review the case, review the information in the court papers, and determine whether or not you were treated fairly or wrongfully, or was something overlooked. Now, if at that time the appellate court decides that you were done unjustly, they have the right to overturn that decision and come up with their new decision. And because of this, the lower courts have to abide by that decision by the appellate courts. Now, if you go to the appellate courts and you're still not satisfied, you can file a case with higher courts, Supreme Courts. Now, the Supreme Court does not take on everyone's case. They decide what is important, what is best for the laws, and they will decide whether they take on your case or they do not take on your case. If they do not choose to take on your case, then your case dies at the lower level. There is no other avenue for you to go and decide, I want to go to the president now. You cannot do that. There are different types of compensation when you file a lawsuit. It could be monetary. It could be so that they just give you back your possessions if it had something to do with personal property or something. They can be made to give you back your personal properties and stuff. It is very important that we understand in real estate that laws were put into place to protect the sellers, the buyers, the real estate agents, and the brokers. There are forms that must be filled out, written out, and signed by all parties to acknowledge the fact that you did receive the information. It's very important for these laws because sometimes an agent can misrepresent a seller's property and make someone believe that everything is okay with the property. There's absolutely nothing wrong. You can just move in right away today. The buyer goes, purchases the property, moves in, and finds out that the roof is leaking. At that time, that buyer has a right to either contact the seller's agent and say, hey, this roof has got a hole in it. I need you guys to come fix it. If at that time that agent contacts the seller and the seller says, oh, well, that's a done deal. We signed contracts. That buyer can take that seller to court because at that point, that seller had to have known that roof was leaking. And just compensation can be awarded to the buyer. In some cases, depending on what it is, the buyer can actually back out the deal as long as they do it before the final escrow closes. And at that point, if they do it before escrow closes, they have every right if they were misrepresented or given false information. So the laws were put into place to hold accountable the agents, the brokers, the sellers, and the buyers, so that there would never be a discrepancy where someone felt they were wrong and there's nothing that they could do. That will conclude my video for California Real Estate Law 9th edition. And I appreciate you guys watching my video. And thank you very much. Have a blessed day.